Hey, for this presentation, both Justin Cox, Parker Hubbard, and Edward Neal will present the matrix organization and how it is used in a software environment. To start, every company has an organization, a way to set up and reach its own business goals. Often the success of the company depends on how it organizes itself, its employees, and its processes. In the case of a matrix organization, the company is set up both horizontally and vertically. As shown in the picture above, two or more organizational structures are combined to achieve certain goals. Employees of Product A directly report to and support members of their vertical division, while they also share and do tasks horizontally with others of similar position. Like the customer service sections shown near the bottom of the chart, this task is carried out. The main difference between matrix organization and other organizations is that in the matrix system, employees must report to two or more managers, each responsible for a different aspect of the organization's overall product or service. This doesn't just mean people of different ranking, but of different areas and positions. Although there is no official start for the matrix organization, that term first came into play with the aerospace industry in the early 1960s. With the vast changes and complexity of their products, the companies chose to create horizontal project units to overlay their currently existing sections, rather than totally reorganizing the entire company for each new product or change in product. Thus, with this example, the features of the matrix organization are most useful in complex and interdependent industries. For instance, as shown with the picture on the right, there are dozens of fields to be set up. With matrix organization, the company doesn't have to restructure itself, just place one of each area necessary for that field. For example, with the wings, they might just need a member of the metallics group, rubber group, and comfort group. And the wheel section will have each of those three as well. Overall allowing the company to go through a standard routine and divide its resources as needed.
Now let's talk about the pros or the benefits of using the matrix organization structure. Now there are a lot more pros than what we have listed here. These are only a few of them, but we wanted to make these pros aware to you guys. So when you're using the matrix organization structure, you're just obvious and know what's going to be happening and the pros that you're going to be accepting as you use the structure. Now the first one that we have listed here is efficient use of resources. This says that all forms of matrix allow specialists as well as equipment to be shared across multiple projects. So if Jack is working on a project and Jane is working on a different project, you can use all of your resources on both projects. They can be shared. There's no delegating everything to one project and then all of your resources to another project, doing them one at a time. With matrix organization, you're able to have multiple projects working at the same time with your resources shared across all of them, which is very beneficial. The second pro that we want to talk about is project integration. This says that granting the project manager more control over work activities should increase project integration. This is just simply saying that with the project manager being in control, that project integration is going to work much better. It's going to just go much more smoothly and everything is going to be connected a lot better. And the third one that we want to talk about is flexibility, and this simply states that the multidisciplinary involvement inherent in the matrix should enhance flexibility and adaptive reactions. So in case your organization gets a hiccup or there's an issue, with matrix organization, you're able to overcome any of these issues that you may come across or foresee in the future, and you're able to adapt and react responsibly and accurately to any issues that may happen while you're working on your project. Now, when it comes to the cons of the matrix organization structure, there are a few to be aware of. And we just want to make sure that you guys know of these cons if your organization ever decides to use them. The first one that we want to talk about here is power struggles, where a conflict occurs since boundaries of authority and responsibility deliberately overlap. Next, we have heightened conflict, where competition over scarce resources occurs, especially when personnel is being shared across multiple projects. Now, this was a pro that we talked about, where you can share your resources across multiple projects, but at the same time, it's a con because if your resources are being used elsewhere and you need them, that's going to cause a conflict with your project, and it's going to delay how soon you're able to deliver on your project. So you need to be aware of where your resources are at and make sure that they're being delegated to where they're supposed to be in a timely manner. Next, we have slow reaction time, where there's a heavy emphasis on consultation and shared decision making, where it slows timely decision making. Next, we have difficulty in monitoring and controlling, where multidisciplinary involvement heightens information demands and makes it difficult to evaluate responsibility. Next, we have excessive overhead, where double management is done by creating project managers. And lastly, we have experienced stress. Dual reporting relations contributes to ambiguity and role conflict. So we just want you guys to be aware of these cons and make sure that you know that if you're going to be using this, that you need to be especially aware of your resources and where they're going. Know who's your project manager, who's your boss, who you're talking with, and make sure that you understand the issues of using the matrix organization before you start using it, and make sure that you're okay with the cons that come along with using the structure.
When do we need to use a matrix organization? Matrix organization structures are best for large projects. It's also great for organizations that already have established functional groups, teams, or management structures, because the matrix organization allows projects to respond quickly to changing needs without disrupting existing organizational structures. Remember, the purpose of a matrix organization is to keep the efficiency of your vertical teams, but we also get to have the benefit of mixing different skills and talents from the interdisciplinary structure. Kind of like we get to keep our focused, specialized groups, but also we have some of the benefit of the flexibility of a more jack of all trades type of organization responsibility structure. So we take a little bit of both. Now, a matrix organization might not be the best for a new project or something that's small. It may be easier to create a more flexible organization from the beginning rather than going straight to a matrix structure. So I'm going to share an example that highlights a little bit of this. Let's say we have a bicycle manufacturer, and then it's a small business that does three things. They design new bikes, they build new bikes, and then they sell new bikes at their store. Each of these functions form a functional group or department, you can say. They perform very well individually as their work is divided. The sales team doesn't need to focus on designing, and the design team doesn't need to worry about how the sales team is doing. Each department can grow quickly and improve because they're only worrying about their own field. The problem is, how can you design a bike without knowing what materials you have to work with? Or how can you design a bike without knowing who you're designing it for? By focusing only on one function, we lose flexibility. However, if we train our team to know a little bit of everything, we lose that efficiency. The good solution is to use a matrix organization. We can add a new department like a customer fulfillment group, whose responsibility is to coordinate across departments and act as a new group or a new management that functions through a hierarchy or through a team rather than top down through a team. Now this has some obvious downsides, like now we have a new team roles, we have more cost, it kind of expands our operations cost, and also there's a new manager, because now in some instances employees have two managers at different and sometimes equal manager levels. So it can cause some confusion. And as always, there's never one single answer for cases like this. And hopefully we've learned enough about this and other organizational structures to choose what's best for each individual organization.